The moment Emily's car disappeared down the driveway, supposedly en route to a business trip in Chicago, Daniel sprang into motion. He wasn't going to drown in sorrow or chase explanations that would only come wrapped in more deceit. He'd seen through her for weeks now, her secretive smiles at her phone, the conveniently late nights at the office, the affectionate messages she assumed he'd never notice. He didn't need to confront her. Confrontation was messy. She was too skilled at deflecting, twisting truths until they lost all shape. No, Daniel wanted something cleaner, something that would make her feel the weight of what she'd done. His first move was financial. Calmly, with unwavering hands, he logged into their shared bank accounts. Years of discipline, savings, and planning stared back at him. In a few quiet clicks, he moved nearly all the money into an account she couldn't touch, his own. It wasn't about revenge or greed. This was about protecting what he'd earned, what he'd worked for while she was busy weaving lies in the background. He left just enough in the joint account to be noticeable, a subtle warning shot. Not enough to trap her, but enough to make things inconvenient. She'd feel it, especially on this trip she thought was so cleverly concealed. Next, Daniel cut off every thread that still connected them digitally. She was removed from their phone plan, blocked across all his contacts, and wiped from his social media. There would be no messages, no calls, no last-minute apologies drenched in crocodile tears. The silence would scream louder than anything he could say. It wasn't just about making her feel the consequences, it was about reclaiming his own space, free from the noise of betrayal. Then came the unexpected twist. The next day his phone rang. The caller ID showed Emily's mother. He answered, curious. The moment he picked up, her fury burst through the line. "You're a heartless bastard," she hissed. "Thanks to you, Emily's trip with a real man is ruined." Daniel didn't flinch. He let the venom settle between them, waited a beat, then answered with chilling composure, "If he's such a real man, he can pay her way." The silence that followed was more satisfying than any insult. He hung up, heart thudding not with regret, but with something sharper, liberation. For nearly a decade, Daniel had believed in the life they were building. A picture-perfect home nestled in the Atlanta suburbs, steady jobs, weekend getaways, and a shared laughter that once felt like home. They were the couple others admired. But the cracks had been forming quietly. Emily had grown cold, distant. Her phone never faced him anymore. Her affection became rationed. He'd ignored his instincts, convinced himself he was overthinking, until that one night when her phone buzzed on the nightstand and a message lit up the screen. He wasn't prepared for what he saw. The words were intimate, far too personal, and the plans for a Chicago getaway she had disguised as work. Everything he believed in collapsed in that instant. It wasn't just the betrayal of love, it was the betrayal of partnership, of shared dreams. And worse, she had made her choice with full awareness of what it would cost. Maybe she assumed he'd never find out. Maybe she thought he'd forgive her even if he did. But she was wrong. That night, lying beside the woman who had broken everything, Daniel made a decision. No fights. No yelling. She didn't deserve his pain. She'd get something colder. Something more permanent. By the time her flight landed in Chicago and she tried to pay for her hotel dinner, reality would hit like a brick. Her card wouldn't work. Her calls wouldn't go through. Her backup plans would evaporate. She'd be stranded, with the man she'd risked everything for, and suddenly he wouldn't seem so thrilling anymore. The fantasy they'd built together would collapse under the weight of her own deception. Back home, Daniel pictured the tension between them, how quickly charm would turn to blame. And in that image he found comfort. Even more satisfying was the flood of voicemails and messages from Emily's mother afterward. Some scathing, some pleading. He didn't answer a single one. He was done being guilt-tripped, done playing the role of the villain in a story he never agreed to. He didn't owe anyone closure. Every ignored message became a quiet reminder of how complicit she'd been in enabling Emily's betrayal. Daniel didn't just move on, he moved forward with purpose. Slowly, carefully he rebuilt. No more illusions. No more pretending everything was fine. It wasn't about punishing Emily. It was about reclaiming his peace, piece by piece. And as he reflected on everything, he realized the truth. Sometimes healing requires more than distance. Sometimes, it requires making sure the person who shattered you feels the cost of what they did. Not for vengeance, but for justice. For clarity. For the quiet satisfaction of knowing you're no longer under their control. Emily had wanted it all, Daniel's loyalty and the thrill of someone new. In the end, she lost everything. And Daniel? He found himself again. The man she thought she could manipulate turned out to be far stronger than she imagined. And that strength, calm, decisive, and unshakable, would echo in her memory long after the money ran out and the illusion crumbled.